Good evening and welcome to the Friday Forecast. I'm your host, Chris Brack, and we're back again. Premier League's back. We don't talk about Europe. It never happened. We just move on. So tonight, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Avy, who is back again with a new tash. Back from his hiatus, we've got Matt, who wants to talk about all things Tottenham. And today we've got a very special guest. We've got Emma Sanders, who is a broadcast journalist for BBC Sports. And most of you have probably seen Emma on Redmen TV Women's podcast, and she was also on the Gengham Pressing podcast and many, many other things. How are we all?
Good.
Just make sure the mic's on. Yeah, good. Everything's good.
Very good. Emma, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. And yeah, as I've said to you guys off air, just come straight from football. So yeah, I'll probably stiffen up halfway through because it's only the second five-a-side I've had in about a year. So if I have cramp halfway through, then that'll be why.
That's to get out of any awkward questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's actually a really good point. I'm going to do
it's good. Yeah. It's good tactic, that, isn't it? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the usual thing. We'll go through some of the big games today. We'll go through the weekend, and then as requested in our Discord group, we have got some questions for Emma. So we'll go through them at the end. In the chat, if you've got any more questions, save them to the end, and we'll try and get through as many as possible. So, because Matt's here and it's part of his contract to make sure he stays, we'll do the Tottenham game first. So we're going to talk about Tottenham versus Man United. So because it's Matt, we'll start with Avy. Avy, what are you thinking of Tottenham Man United?
Yeah, I think it's going to be because United just come back from Granada, didn't they? They won 2-0 yesterday. So I think Spurs will win this. I do fancy Spurs to win this. It's at home, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, we're at home.
Yeah, I actually fancy Spurs to win and probably win comfortably, actually. I fancy them with a 2-0. I really do. I think United, they've secured top four really now. I think they'll get second, judging by Leicester City's final few fixtures. So I think United are I think they're going for that Europa League now. I think they want to get a trophy under Ole. And I think tomorrow will be a sort of welcome distraction for Tottenham. I think Tottenham will sort of get them whilst after coming back from Spain and whatnot. I think Spurs will hit them, and I think they'll beat them 2-0.
Okay. Emma, from your point of view, are you going along with that, or Man United's away form is what it is? It's probably one of the best in the league, and Tottenham seems to be in a bit of turmoil with Mourinho doing his year 3 meltdown a year early, which is always helpful.
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be a close one, to be honest with you. Obviously, Spurs won, was it 6-2 back in October? I don't think it'll be anything like that. I think United have got a lot tighter at the back. They seem to have clicked a little bit in the last couple of weeks. It'd be interesting to see whether Luke Shaw's fixed. I think he's a bit of a doubt after I think he came off at halftime, didn't he? In the European game. So I think he'll be key for United because he's been in top form for them. He's been probably arguably their best player in 2021. So I think if he's not fit, then that's a massive bonus for Tottenham. With the forward players that they've got, they can make those runs in behind. So, but no, I think it'll be a close one. Tough one to call. Tottenham haven't got a great record either, have they, against the big teams? So I'll probably just edge United on this one, I think.
Okay. What score are you going for?
1-0.
1-0. Okay. Matt, so one for you, one against you. You've got an idea where I'm going. Draw?
It's a possibility. It's almost a Solskjaer trademark of a big six game.
There's a 1 in 3 chance it's one of them, isn't it?
It is. It's a good point. Good match, Chris. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think a 0-0 draw is the Solskjaer trademark in a big six game, but I think the cards are firmly in Solskjaer's hands in this one. I think Jose has to come out and try and make this game go Tottenham's way because it is United's to lose. I think there are two things that Spurs need to do if we want to try and get something out of this game. The first is to throw that 4-4-2 in the bin because it made us look like a bad version of Burnley in that game against Newcastle. I think we need to revert to either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 to kind of bulk up the midfield. Because if we stick with that 4-4-2 and we've Højbjerg and Dembele up against what will probably be Pogba, McTominay and Bruno Fernandes, the space that Bruno is going to get in between the lines is going to be fatal for us, and it will win United that game. So I think switch to either 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Get that extra man in midfield. Let Højbjerg man mark Bruno Fernandes, then have Ndombele and one of Lo Celso, maybe even Musa Sissoko, get him back in that team to bulk things up there. If we can do that, win that midfield battle, I think that's 50% of the game won for us. And then exploit that space down United's right-hand side, where Wan-Bissaka is such a good one-on-one defender, but I think positionally and his defensive awareness is something that he does lack. And for me, is probably the reason he's not the starting right back for England. But get Sergio Reguilon down that side. Son going in narrow, dragging Wan-Bissaka out of place, and Reguilon down there starting to exploit that space left by Wan-Bissaka. And I think then we can get something out of the game. But Jose Mourinho is very, very stubborn, and I think we will see that 4-4-2. And I wouldn't be surprised if United walk away with this with the 3 points.
Okay, cool. So what score are you going?
1-1.
1-1. After all that hype, all that build, you sat on the fence and 1-1.
I'm not predicting a defeat.
Okay, I am predicting a defeat for you. I've gone 3-1 United. I just think United away from home, we know what they're like, and them on the counter, I think is a bit of a poison chalice for you guys at the back. If I was them, I target you right back and I target either of your centre backs. That just seems to be the weaknesses. Reguilon is the one shining light for you guys, I would say, defensively. So I just think it feels tailor-made for United. The only thing that gives Spurs a chance is you've had the rest midweek, which they haven't. So, but yeah, we will see. We'll see for that. Right, a couple of quick fire ones. Avi, City versus Leeds.
I can see a draw. Actually, I'm going to go for 1-1. I fancy Leeds getting a result here at Etihad.
Okay, Emma.
I absolutely love that optimism. I think it'll be a routine City win, 3-0, 4-0 maybe.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I think City will have too much. If Haaland can't score against that defence, I don't think Patrick Bamford will. I've gone for a 3-0 win for City as well.
That's fine. I've gone for 3-1 City. And then Palace versus Chelsea, London derby. Matt, stick with you.
Chelsea to bounce back, 3-2 or 3-1 win.
3-1 Chelsea. Okay, Avi.
2-1 Crystal Palace.
He's on one today. Emma.
Oh, I'm absolutely loving this from Abby. I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea.
2-0 Chelsea. Okay. I'm going for 2-2. Chelsea seem to have a bit of a weird situation with Palace, so I'm hoping for a 2-2. Right. So probably the more important game, if you're a Liverpool fan at the moment, is West Ham versus Leicester. West Ham, who are flying, currently sat in fourth. Got a bit of a problem now with Antonio looking like he's out for a good couple of weeks, but they've got Lingard flying. And then Leicester, who, despite no Harvey Barnes, no Soyuncu, no James Justin, who have all been stalwarts this year, just keep seeming to find a way. But you do worry with Leicester, is it the amount of games they've got against teams around is going to catch up with them? So, Matt, how are you seeing this, West Ham versus Leicester?
It's a weird one that this is a top four game. It's a worrying sign for English football if 50% of the teams representing them in Europe is West Ham and Leicester. I think it goes to show. Look, as good as those teams are, perhaps a decline that we've seen with a couple of years ago, the 4 European finalists being English teams. But West Ham missing Antonio, of course, out through injury. Declan Rice as well should be out for the next month or so. I think it's hard to look beyond Leicester in this one. As you said, just always seem to find a way. And West Ham, I think, without Declan Rice, are a much weaker team, and a lot of their freedom going forward is going to be kind of taken away without that protection of Rice and Souček back there. I think Souček trying to do that job on his own or with someone else is a very different proposition. So I go with Leicester in this one, down a 2-1 win for them. 2-1.
Okay, Avi, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, I think if anyone's benefited from having no fans at the stadium, it's definitely West Ham and David Moyes. And Brendan Rodgers, I still think that they could still slip away here because their last 3 games, I think they've got Chelsea, United, I think they've got Spurs in that run. But David Moyes has done a great job. I really do like what he's doing there, and he's been able to implement his own style as well, and he's got them solid. And I think Souček has got to be one of the underrated players of the season. He deserves definitely a shout. Definitely in my top 5 of the season. For West Ham this season, but I do fancy a draw. I think West Ham, because they're at home, and just the way Moyes does set up against sort of teams with a lot of pace and coming at them, and I think Leicester have got a few troubles themselves. I think it will be a draw. I think I'm going to go for a 0-0.
Okay, Emma. After all those games, you've gone for the dullest results. It's unlike you. What are you thinking, Emma?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough one for Leicester. I think, the loss of Declan Rice for West Ham is huge, as we've already discussed. So I think that will have a big impact. But yeah, as Abby says, I think David Moyes has got them really solid. They're looking good on the counter-attack as well, especially West Ham. But for me, Leicester just seem to have found a way this season against the teams in and around them to kind of grind out results, which they, didn't necessarily do last season, especially obviously dropping off from that European position. So I think Leicester will find a way. I think it'll be tough, but I'm going 2-1 Leicester.
Cool. On my predictions, I have got 2-2. I just fancy Lingard to again keep on his scoring form against that Leicester defence, but David Moyes' team, they just can't not concede a goal at the moment. That's been their a bit of Achilles heel. So I'm hoping for a high scoring 2-2. That's my fingers crossed for Liverpool. Right, a few more quick fire ones. Burnley against Newcastle. Let's start with you, Emma.
I mean, it's not a blockbuster fixture, is it?
I've got Skybox for it. Can't wait.
I'll probably say 1-0 Burnley. It'll probably be a set piece header, 88th minute or something like that.
Good. Matt?
Game of the weekend for me. It's going to be an absolute belter. I've gone 1-0 Burnley as well.
Avi, this is where you put like 6-6, isn't it, or something like that now?
This is the game that I'm definitely not going to be waking up for, because this game's coming on at 4 a.m. for me. So I'm going to actually go for a 3-1 Newcastle.
3-1 Newcastle. You actually think Newcastle score 3?
I think they will. Yeah, I think they will. I fancy Newcastle to get a result away at Turf Moor.
Fair enough. I've got 2-1 Burnley. And Sheffield United versus Arsenal. Stick with you, Avi.
Yeah, you do feel that the fans are starting to now put pressure on Arteta, especially after yesterday's result. And Sheffield United, it could be that they did play well against Leeds. Fair play to them. They played well last week, but I fancy Arsenal here. 2-1.
2-1. Matt? Your favourite?
I've gone 3-0 Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal.
I do like Sheffield United. Yeah, no, I said 3-0 Arsenal.
You sure? No. Okay, Emma.
Yeah, I think that they're going to respond from the European game. So I mean, they had Aubameyang, Pepe. I think Martinelli on the bench in the European game. So I think they'll all be coming back in and firing. So I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal for this one.
Yeah, I've got what have I got? I've got 2-1 Arsenal, but as Tom Bolland's put 1-0 Sheffield. The way Arsenal's week's going, it's a bit like ours at the moment. It wouldn't surprise you. It generally wouldn't surprise you with the way Arsenal are going at the moment. Right, last two for quick fires. The Monday night games. Another thriller. West Brom versus Southampton. Emma?
2-0 Southampton.
You couldn't care less, could you, in this game? Matt?
I've said 1-1.
1-1. Avi?
Yeah, I think Taki will start and score. I'm going with Southampton 2-1.
Who will score?
Taki Minamino. Yeah, who he is.
No idea. Does he play in the Premier League?
He does.
Right. Is it the one you got the crush on?
He's coming back in the summer to Liverpool. He's going to be in the starting lineup next season.
No, he's only going to Liverpool on holiday next season. I think that's the closest we're going to see Taki Minamino play for Liverpool again. I've got, again, 2-0 Southampton. And last one, Brighton versus Everton, which could be quite an intriguing game. Avi?
Yeah, I thought Brighton were very unlucky against Man United last week. I thought there was a dubious decision on Welbeck. I did think that was a foul. I think that was a little trip on his foot. And I do like the way, Graham Potter, again, sets his stall. They do play good football. It's a shame that the league table doesn't reflect that. But I fancy Brighton here. I'm going to go with 2-1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton. Okay. Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, Potter ball for the winning. And me as well. I've got 2-1 written down.
Oh, good play to the crowd, this. Emma?
Yeah, 2-1 Brighton for me as well. I just think Graham Potter's side plays some really good stuff. And yeah, even though the results haven't been there the last, 2 to 3 months, like you could say that the football they've been playing is really good. So yeah, Brighton.
Okay. I also went pessimistic. I went for a hopeful 1-1 because Brighton just don't score very often. So, but we could all live with that. Right, bit of housekeeping for me. So we have passed now the 9,000 subscribers mark. So we're on the way now to 10K. So guys, remember, if you like what we do, please subscribe, tell friends, family. When we get to 10K, there is going to be a giveaway of a PlayStation 5 and FIFA 2021. It's going to be given away as well. So if into your PlayStations, that's one to go for. The new website is live. It's doing really well. So it's lfcdt.com. And there is the option there that if you want to submit any articles, you want to get started in writing, it's there for you. It doesn't have to just be Liverpool centric. It could be about anything you want. We've had things about what football means to them, whether people talk about the fall of Italian football. If you've got sort of about football you want to write about, send it in to us. Literally all we'll do is do the spell checks on it, and then we'll put it up, and it gives you your opportunity. So if you want to do that, the option is there for you. And in the description below is the link to our Discord group. So again, Discord, it's a good laugh. It's like Twitter, but without the nastiness. We all have a laugh. It's everything from football chat to your favorite football shirts to Gav getting his music playlists built up for himself. I think he's got 2 now, so he's quite enjoying himself. And also, he helps you find out about the shows. And for this Discord group, we did ask for questions for Emma, which she will be getting later. So it's a good way of getting involved with the show as well. Cool. Right. So the big game. Liverpool humbled very comfortably by Real Madrid against Villa, who probably been one of the surprise packages this year and doing really well. But it is a Villa that is without Jack Grealish, which I think most Liverpool fans had a big sigh of relief when we heard no Jack Grealish. Matt, how are you seeing this? Play nice.
Look, got to play up to the crowd again. No, I think this is one for Liverpool to get a bit of revenge from that game earlier on in the season. Jack Grealish being out for Villa is a huge miss, and it was Trezeguet who rescued them last week, and I can't really see that one happening again. But yeah, that game against Real Madrid on Tuesday, it wasn't just a defeat; it was the manner of the defeat was the worst part of that for Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp is going to make sure there is some sort of reaction to that, and I think it's going to come in the form of a somewhat convincing victory. It's never easy to not going to play Villa off the park or anything like that, but you'd imagine a bit of more clinical finishing up front could do the job for Liverpool in this one. And I've reduced my stats this week because I know you don't like when I ramble on with the stats all the time. But my favorite stat.
We do. We love it.
Don't lie to me, Chris. My favourite stat, I had to keep it for this game. It was Aston Villa have already scored 7 league goals against Liverpool this season. Only City have scored more against Liverpool in a single season since '92, and that was 8. So if Villa get 1, they'll match that record. And I really hope they do, because I was going to go 3-0 to Liverpool, but I wanted that record to be matched, so I said 3-1.
Thanks for that. So if you want to be a contributor on this show, just please DM me. We may have a vacancy coming up soon. So how are you seeing the game, Matt?
It's going to be a tight one, but I think, like I said, a bit of more clinical finishing up top, and Liverpool get the 3-1 win.
3-1. Okay, Emma, how are you seeing Villa versus Liverpool?
Yeah, I think Villa will come out and play, which will probably play into Liverpool's strengths because there'll be more spaces in behind, and hopefully Liverpool will have a little bit more time on the ball. So I think we'll see a reaction from them. I think Klopp will bring in the likes of maybe Curtis Jones back into midfield, type of players that will want to get on the ball. So yeah, I think I'll go 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Matt's getting some.
3-1.
Yeah, Matt's getting some grief in the chat, which is what I like.
Can I change my prediction to 7-2 to Villa?
Not if you want to come back on the show. No.
7-2 to Villa.
Behave yourself.
Listen, you started. You said Tottenham should sign Ramsdale. He's never forgiven you for that, so I'd keep quiet if I was you. Mac has gone for 5-0 Liverpool. Quite a lot of positivity. Barry Carr, I'll leave this with you, Avi, while you give your discussions. Does anyone want to see Naby? Interesting question. I mean, unless he's injured, there's always that chance he might be. How are you seeing it? How are you seeing it, Avi?
Funny enough, I can see Naby starting tomorrow. I really can. I thought Wednesday the substitution was a bit wrong, bringing him off on the 42nd minute. Should have waited till half time. There's only 3 minutes to go. Couldn't have got any worse. I think tomorrow's a big game. It's a game that we have to obviously rectify of what happened back in September, October when we lost 7-2. We do need to win and win well. We need to have some kind of momentum going into Wednesday's game against Madrid, the second leg. And I do feel that he will play Naby just to show a bit of support. But I think we will see a different midfield. I don't see Gini starting tomorrow. And I would actually think about dropping Mane as well. Maybe play Bobby in the middle and then Jota and Salah on either side. But I do fancy us winning tomorrow. I'm going to go with 3-1.
3-1. Do you think Keita will play?
I think he will, yeah.
I think he'll be looking to make the bench. I agree. I don't think Gini starts. I think Gini and Manny both sit on the bench. Partly because I think Gini Wijnaldum just plays every game, and at some point that's going to catch up with you. And Manny, as much as I like Manny, he's not worth his place in the team at the moment. He's not the only one, but he's bang out of form. I could see a couple of curveballs. I could see someone like the 4-2-3-1 coming back, but I think someone like it'd be like Milner and Fabinho in the middle for a bit of. I think we need someone like a Milner for a bit of leadership and a bit of a kick up the arse for some players. And then because Klopp loves to do it, I think you'll see Jota, Salah, and Firmino because I think they'll all play. I think he'll throw someone like a Shaqiri or a Chamberlain on the right, just for something a bit different, and also to rest legs for the weekend. I've got a hopeful 3-1, but it is hopeful at the moment.
I think we'll see Milner definitely start against Madrid though on Wednesday. I think that's a given. I think we need someone like that, just an old school sort of British midfielder who will do the running, who'll do the doggy work, who'll get the sort of like the little fouls in, a little bit snide. We definitely need that against Madrid on Wednesday. I know Robertson's won, but we definitely need Millie. And to have a little chat with Trent as well, just in case Vinicius plays his little mind games again with Trent, you've got Milner just to say, look, just concentrate on your football. And I think I think he's actually pivotal to in the way Wednesday turns out, actually playing Millie.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I understood why Keita played, because I think it was to be, we all thought the high press, which we didn't do. I mean, look, Milner doesn't have the legs he used to have, but he will fly into a tackle. And to be honest, I think we need a bit of nastiness. So, early question for you, Emma. And Dick wants to know, what's it like being in the empty stadiums?
Weird. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because you get to hear the tactics and, you know, the coaching from the sidelines, which is a really, really unique experience. It's not something that you get to sort of listen to firsthand, especially in the Premier League games. So that's really interesting, just to be able to hear that kind of side of things. It's we're kind of used to it now, I think. But yeah, it's definitely weird. I think the worst bit is at kickoff, when you're used to hearing, especially, you know, at local games, when you're used to hearing like "You Never Walk Alone," but the players sort of walking out to no applause, and then the game just sort of starting, and there's no real like build up, there's no atmosphere. But then once the game gets going, you sort of forget that there's. I mean, obviously you know that there's no fans, but you kind of zone in on the actual players talking to themselves and that kind of communication. So you see players like Conor Cody, when you watch him for Wolves, you see like everyone knows how much he talks, but you actually see, no, he literally does not shut up like the whole time, because you hear every single word that comes from the players and from the coaching staff as well. So from that side of it, it's been really interesting, and yeah, you sort of get that kind of feel firsthand who the leaders are in all the teams. So yeah, so that's been good.
Emma, just a question, as a side note on that, as a journalist, does it help you assess the game better as well without fans and the reaction of what they sort of like, their reactions? Like, does it, because you're by yourself and like you're more focused on the pitch without the fans, does it make you sort of assess the game better by any chance, like in a weird way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say it makes you assess it better. I think it makes you assess it differently, because for example, if you're at Anfield on a European night and the crowd are absolutely behind the team, on the pitch, Liverpool might be second best, but you will get a sense that Liverpool are perhaps on top because the crowd are so kind of, you know, on their side. So you kind of, when you take all that emotion away and you take the actual kind of feeling in the ground and you only have the football to focus on, then I guess you judge it for purely the football in itself and not the color around it, I guess. So yeah, you do judge it differently, and as you say, I think it helps in the sense that you can kind of hear the kind of tactics that are being spoken about. So, you know, if you hear an instruction in the 10th minute and then you maybe think, oh, that's interesting, you'll look out for it and you might see that develop over the next 20-30 minutes. And, you know, Jurgen Klopp might be shouting higher in terms of the press, and then you might see a little bit more intensity in the high press over the next 20 minutes. So in that way, yeah, it definitely sort of helps you analyze the game. Yeah.
Okay. Just following on from that, Kevin Sumner said, who surprised you to be at being vocal?
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Is anyone who's vocal you wouldn't think when there's a crowd there they're actually that vocal?
Curtis Jones is actually, I wouldn't say it surprised me because I watched him a lot in the academy, but yeah. Curtis Jones talks a lot more to kind of the experienced players than I guess you would think for somebody so young. You know, he's very, if James Milner or Jordan Henderson misplaces a pass, you know, he's very happy to tell them about it. He doesn't shy away from that. So that was, yeah, I guess on the whole, that's probably a bit of a surprise. But also, probably at the start of the season, I think Joe Gomez was a bit quieter than I thought he would be. So as a kind of an opposite, because I guess, you know, he's probably used to having somebody like Van Dijk alongside him who kind of does all the talking and you know, all the kind of organisation, that Gomez just sort of got on with it. But yeah, Curtis Jones probably was somebody who outspoken.
That's a great point. Sorry to interrupt. That's a great point, because when I used to watch a lot of reserve games on the LFC TV channel myself, Emma, and when Steven Gerrard was in charge, Jones was captain, and there was a certain like the youth Champions League games where Jones would not be vocal, and he would Gerrard would absolutely go into him and blast him, say, "Look, you're not talking enough." And I think that comes from that, because he carries himself really well as well. Like he's got that sort of arrogance, but the right arrogance as well, that you know that there's a footballer in him and he believes in himself too. So I think it could just stem from there, where having Gerrard as a youth manager and then converting that into the first team, he does give himself that confidence to look, I can say something to Milner or a Henderson or a Van Dijk if they misplace a pass. But he says it probably in the right way. Obviously, you've got more experience with that because you've been there live.
Yeah,
but that's something that I've noticed as well with Curtis.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I actually wrote a feature on Curtis Jones, I think at the beginning of the season. I spoke to Stephen Warnock about him. Obviously, he does some work for us on Radio 5 Live. And he was saying that people within the Liverpool changing rooms had kind of given Curtis Jones a bit of roughing up, I guess, when he first stepped into the first team. Kind of expected more from him in terms of that maturity and from a senior player, and by the looks of it, he's sort of taken that on board and stepped up and has made himself far more vocal. And I think that's because he's played himself into a position where he is absolutely a first team player. So he's now got the confidence to back that up vocally as well.
Awesome. Good. Right, before we go to more questions for Emma, Avi, who is your one to watch this weekend? You can't say Minamino. Do you need a minute to think?
You know what? I'm going to actually change the script here. I'm going to go with Mikel Arteta.
Okay, that's fine.
I do feel that if the Sheffield United result doesn't go their way, I could see something happening in the next week or so with his future as Arsenal manager. So I'm going to go with Mikel Arteta.
No, in Arsenal, they'll probably give him a contract extension just to really wind everyone up.
Fingers crossed.
So is yours Jose Mourinho? Is he in his year 3 meltdown yet? He's getting close to it.
He's right in there. He's right in the thick of it, and I'm not enjoying it. But no, my one to watch is going to be Sergio Reguilon. He's been really poor since he returned from injury, but this is the game for him to come back strong.
Is that still an 18-month deal? Sorry, is that still an 18-month deal, Matt, with Reguilon, or does he go back after the season? No, he's permanent, but they can.
We've signed him permanently, but they have a buyback option in this summer or next summer. But if they do activate it, we make £15 million profit. So it's good business, if you ask me.
That was the reason it was Kai Bosch didn't go into Man United, because I don't think they wanted the buyback clause. Yeah. While we're on the Mourinho subject, I know I partly do it just to wind you up because it's funny. But realistically, what are you thinking is going to happen, or who are you thinking is next for Spurs? Because don't say it's the wrong way, Matt. I've seen this Mourinho dance at Chelsea twice. I've seen it at Real Madrid. I've seen it at Man United. So it's not really a Tottenham issue. It's what Mourinho does. We all know that's how he plays his game. When he's had enough, he's had enough. But from your point of view, are you looking to go down another experienced Mourinho manager route, or are you looking at more of an up-and-comer?
I was actually having this. I was in the live chat of a show like this a while ago, and there's a Spurs fan on it, and I made the point that if Jose goes, I think Harry Kane goes as well, because the reality of the situation is Harry Kane wants to win trophies, and we need to hold on to him to do that at Spurs, because if he doesn't think that's going to happen soon, he will be gone, as loyal as he is to the club, and I don't think any Spurs fan will begrudge him if he does make that decision. But if Jose goes and we bring in not these exact people, but a similar manager to Julian Nagelsmann or Erik ten Hag, there's people who will try and rip the core of the squad out and try and build it back up from the ground again. I don't think Kane is going to stick around for that, because he doesn't have time for a rebuild. He'll happily take a €400,000 or €500,000 a week paycheck at PSG or Bayern or Barcelona, wherever it is, and just win his couple of continental trophies. But as far as Mourinho goes, I think we're at the stage now where I don't think his sacking is about to happen. Like, I don't think it's in the next couple of weeks or whatever. I think he's just gone beyond the point of no return, where it is simply about trying to salvage his time at Spurs. And if that is with winning a Carabao Cup or getting us back into the Champions League, I think for how bad things could have been, it is somewhat of an achievement. Because look, we're only 2 points or 3 points off the top four. Like it is still possible, but I don't see the point in going from where we were after Pochettino. Yes, there was a bit of toxicity in there and we weren't in the best position, but there was a platform and the basis for this club to push on and actually genuinely build something long-term. I don't see the point in getting rid of that, bringing in Jose for instant success, and as the first sign of failure, stopping that and go back to where we were. If we're getting rid of Jose, we need someone similar to him, similar in the way he approaches the game, so we can win something in the next couple of years, because without trophies, the last 2 years of this club is a disaster.
Fair enough, yeah. There are a couple of chat who aren't happy with me asking this question, saying they're in the League Cup final, what are you on about? But Spurs are in the League Cup final. Spurs aren't that far for top four, like Liverpool aren't that far for top four. But the atmosphere around Spurs, you wouldn't think that was going on, hence why the question's there. And we've seen this, I mean, Emma probably no better than us, we have seen this game before with Mourinho, where he's either had enough or he's doing it to get something he wants, whether that's Man United, it was to get centre-backs that he couldn't get. For you guys, it could be there's a player he wants and he's been told he's not getting him. So that's why I was wondering. Some of the other players who I've seen for one to watch so far is Eze's been mentioned, and Jota has also been mentioned. Who's your one to watch, Emma?
Wesley Fofana from Leicester. He's a young defender that I rate highly. Every single time I watch him, I think he's really composed. He's really mature. And I think he'll have a test against West Ham, especially, the likes of Souček, who's got real height and sort of presence, driving into the area. So I think Fofana's he's going to be tested this weekend. So I'm interested to see how he sort of holds his own there. But yeah, that's my one to watch.
Cool. I've got Souček from West Ham. I just think he's got goals in him, and I think he's the key. If West Ham are going to get anything against Leicester, I think he's the key. Nothing else works without him in there, I would say. So, okay, Abby, how many goals do you think is going to be scored this weekend? Let's see how good your maths is. It was 1-0 tonight, the Wolves game. If you need that help,
yeah. I think we're going to go with 46.
46. Okay, Brendan Rodgers season. What are you going for, Matt?
Is it just me or is 46 really high? I'm not.
Yes, 46 is really high, and I think on average we aren't there. I mean, to be fair, mate, you're the stats man, so you probably can tell me that.
I can't. I never said I was good at my job. I just said I worked there. Including the game tonight, I'm going 26 goals. 26. Cool. Emma, how many have you got?
I haven't got a clue. I'm going to go 22.
22. Cool. And I've got 30. Right. And let's see what we've got here. We've got 30 in the chat. We've got 26, 32. And, Team Coppish are in the house. I think that's our friend Callum, who normally is the nicest man on YouTube. Judging by me winding him up, that might not be the case anymore. But shout out to Team Coppish, who have recently just got to 20,000 subscribers. So, not now, but, go and look at their stuff after you finish watching the show with us. Right. So, I asked the Discord group some questions for Emma, so I've actually written them down, what we've asked. In the chat, if you've got any for Emma, give it 5 minutes, and then you can start firing a few in, and then we'll see what we can and see how many we can get through. Okay, so first couple of questions I got for you, Emma, were from Rajiv in our group. He's asked, first one was, what was your most enjoyable match to commentate or write on?
I actually did the Liverpool-Barcelona Champions League semi-final.
Brilliant.
So obviously that one. But I think from sort of a personal career highlight, just doing my first Liverpool game live from Anfield for the BBC, which was against Watford, I think it was. That I can't remember what the score was, but Liverpool won. That will probably be sort of a personal one for me, just because that was my first time sort of doing it from the stadium. So that was really like a challenge all around. And then also I did the Community Shield at Wembley, and that was my first live text from Wembley as well. So so they're sort of two like career highlights. But yeah, in terms of a game, obviously Liverpool Barcelona. That's
fine. Didn't you recently do your LFC TV debut as well for the women?
Yeah, so in terms of like commentary, because obviously I'm a writer, that was my first time ever on commentary. So that was 2 weeks ago, I think it was, on LFC TV for Liverpool Women against Blackburn. So yeah, that was great, absolutely loved it, and hopefully they'll ask me back on again. But we'll see.
Cool. And Raj, you've also wants to know what was your inspiration for getting into football journalism or sports journalism in general?
Well, I've always loved sport. I've always played football. I was a big hockey player. So it was kind of an obvious thing for me. I was always going to go into something to do with sport, but I didn't want to have I never really eyed up like being a professional in anything, because I kind of wanted to have sort of a job and then sport as a hobby. But then as I kind of, went through sixth form and I absolutely loved English, I really enjoyed the writing side of it. It sort of made sense then to kind of go into sports writing. And then obviously I went to uni and did the degree and absolutely loved it. And yeah, just kind of went from there. So didn't really kind of get an inspiration from anyone. I didn't really know anyone that had ever done it. It was just kind of pairing my two favorite subjects at school, really, which was obviously PE and English. So that's kind of how I fell into it.
Cool. Just following on for that, what advice would you give someone if they want to get into professional sports journalism? Is it just getting your writing out there, or what, as well as obviously doing a degree, which obviously helps?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the degree, don't get me wrong, I got a lot out of it, but you only get out what you put into it. So it was kind of the contacts that I got out of my degree. I kind of used the contacts that my lecturers had and went off and gained work experience through those contacts. And I think that's the main thing I always say to people, is that be prepared to work for free at first, because you've got to get that exposure, you've got to build those contacts, and like you say, you've kind of got to put your work out there. But then it's all about sort of connecting as well, getting in touch with people, asking for advice on, like specific advice as well. So not just kind of general questions like, how do I get into journalism? Something maybe more like, how can I improve this area of my writing? How can I develop this specific skill in commentary and things like that, where you're actually getting, personal advice. So yeah, that's always the thing I say, is go out there, get experience, and just talk to people.
Cool. Sean in Discord says, in your opinion, who are two of Liverpool's top realistic summer targets, but you can't say centre back?
I don't think they've really got any massive targets, to be honest, lined up that are nailed on.
No, I think it's more of an opinion. What do you feel? We're not going to. Sorry, it's not going to get clipped or saying Emma said.
No, I'm just trying to think of any names that aren't centre backs. I think I'd like to see. I don't know a name, but I'd like to see a left winger come in.
That's what we give Manny a rest more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think Liverpool still need a little bit more competition for that front three. I mean, Jota's obviously provided that, and we've seen what a difference that has made already. So I'd like to see another left winger in, and then obviously I think if Wijnaldum doesn't sign on, then I think we'll probably need a little bit more cover, as maybe another sort of defensive minded midfielder. But yeah, in terms of names, can't really pluck any off the top of my head just now, but
no, that's fine. Cyber Sims asks, past or present, who's your favourite player and why?
I mean, obviously for me, like growing up, it was Steven Gerrard. But aside from Steven Gerrard, because I think that's the obvious one, I absolutely loved John Arne-Riise. I just thought he was brilliant. I just loved his character, and I think it was the fact that he would just pop up with absolute screamers. Against like the likes of Man United and stuff. So he had an absolute killer left foot, and I think for a while he was probably the only real nailed on left back that Liverpool had for probably 10-15 years that was kind of of real quality. So
I mean, when you think of the left backs we've had, there haven't been many that you could sort of like hang your hat on and say. I mean, the only one who was probably better in my eyes was Aurelio, but unfortunately he had Joe Matip about him. He just couldn't stay fit, so that was a bit of an issue for us. One word answer. Liam wants to know: do you think Liverpool will make the top four?
No. Sorry.
Fair enough. It's all right. You're not alone. You're not alone. I think quite a lot of us are feeling pessimistic about that. Cyber also asks, in your opinion, do you believe Klopp will see out his contract or sign an extension? And do you feel there's any concern that he's falling out of love with the way football is at the moment and may decide to leave early.
I don't
Very
think he'll
long.
leave at all. I don't think he's falling out of love with the football. I think he absolutely loves Liverpool. I think at the very least he will see out his contract. I think he'll be offered an extension, but I think it'll be on Klopp's terms when he does leave. But I think he will at least see out his contract. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Just on that, Chris, before you go into the next question, just a quick one on Klopp. Obviously, the few times that you've seen him at Anfield and whatnot, Emma, is there like an aura about him? Like even from afar, like when you're sort of like doing your journalist stuff, like is there an aura? Do the fields sort of feed off him like that energy? And I know, and that's a silly question to ask because we know that there are examples of where they do, but is there that sort of like aura that he is? Not like so much a messiah, but he's got that sort of influence on them whenever he needs to like get them going. That whatever he says, the players are in tune with what he's sort of letting off.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's something for me, which is why I've always been such a big fan of Jurgen Klopp, because I think he has that aura and he just gets Liverpool. Like he gets everything about it. That's the city, the fans, the club, the history, and I think that really, really resonates with the players. And that's kind of coming back to sort of what I was saying about Curtis Jones before. I think Klopp has had a massive influence on him and sort of the way that Curtis Jones is, because I think a lot of what he does and a lot of the behaviours he shows kind of, for me, he has a lot about that kind of Klopp aura where he just feels everything about Liverpool, and he feels like every time he puts on the shirt, he genuinely kind of gets it. And that's what strikes me about Klopp. I think it's hard to describe that aura, but I certainly think there is one. But like, whenever I speak to sort of friends about him, if we're chatting in the pub, it's the best way to describe it is just he gets Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah.
Cool. Just before we go any more questions, Team Coppish are back. I know where this is leading from. Question for everyone, apparently especially me: should we sell Mane? Now, this came from I believe I put this in the chats to Team Coppish, partly just to watch them explode into anger about it, but just to obviously not to bury anyone. But this came from Avy. So, Avy, would you sell Mane?
He's going to be 29 in June, July. If we can get 70 million for him, I would sell him. Yeah, from a business perspective, yeah. If you look at the numbers, I would sell him at 29.
Okay. Outside looking in, what would you think, Matt?
I think Liverpool would be crazy to let him go. I know he's been poor this season, but a lot of the players in that Liverpool side have, and in a season that is as unpredictable and as crazy as this one, I think one player who's been so good for you in the last 2-3 years, however long it's been, for him to have one off season and to let him go now, I think is bizarre. I mean, look at Eden Hazard at Chelsea in 2015-16. I don't think Mane is at that level, but for a player who was as incredible as Hazard was to then go a calendar year without scoring a goal, I think the way he bounced back is something Mane has the capability to do.
Who did he bounce back with his goal against?
Let's not talk about that, Chris. It's a sore spot.
All right. Was that the battle?
I think I'm losing connection, Chris. I can't hear you.
Oh, right, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Emma, would you sell Mane? Would you sell any of the front three?
No.
No.
I think the only way you would sell any of those front three is if you've got somebody of a similar caliber coming in, so a Haaland, an Mbappe, a Jadon Sancho maybe, because of the the kind of the potential aspects. But for me, it's a no-go.
That's right. For me, I've said I quite like Salah and Mane to do a bit of a Robin and Ribery at Bayern. Stay there. You look to plan long term to replace them. I know it's not popular. I would shift on Bobby. I think 5 years. I think he's done his time. I think he's got a lot of miles on his legs, and I feel for Bobby and for Liverpool. I think he needs a rebirth. Now you're not going to get the money for Bobby that you get for the other two, but I do think that's maybe we need to move away from the Bobby false nine. That's just how I think it's going to go. I could be wrong.
Just a question though on Bobby,
because
I think I understand people saying he's sort of coming out of his peak, or he's perhaps not at the level that he has been, but in terms of a potential squad player, Firmino as like a backup striker, I think he would be happy to do that role, and I don't think he'd cause many issues in the changing room. So,
the reason I'm saying selling them is kind of the way FSG work a little bit. There is people like hearing the buy to sell thing. I think it's something you're gonna have to sell somebody to fund some of the players you want to build it. That's why I'm saying sell him, because I would say if you had to sell one of the three, I'd sell him. In the ideal world, you keep all four of them and you add to it, but how realistic that is, I don't know. But that's just my opinion. So, and also I've also said that because Callum really loves Bobby Firmino, so I've just that's me off the Christmas card list now for a week.
So.
Oh well, I should have known that. That's Emma not coming on again. See you later. So the other question is, Dan Bailey has asked, has the pathway into journalism for females become easier in the past 5 to 10 years, or is it still perceived as a very male-dominated industry? I know that's a very loaded question, but
yeah, it's massively male-dominated. I mean, I was sort of a freelancer around kind of the local scene back when I was doing work experience at the Echo, sort of back end of 2015, which was kind of just before I graduated, and then sort of from 2016 onwards when I graduated and was kind of in the big bad world. Like, there was literally only me and Melissa Reddy that was ever at any press conferences or even in press boxes. There was the odd couple of people that kind of pitched in and out, but it was really, really difficult. And I still think now it's like I'll sit in a press box now, and 9 times out, if it's a Premier League game, 9 times out of 10, I'm the only girl there. I think in terms of the wider journalism, in when you factor in kind of other sports as well, I think there are more females about now, but it's still really, really hard. It's still really difficult, and there's always that kind of sense of you have to prove yourself in the men's game. There's more opportunities, but the actual kind of expectation on you hasn't got any easier, if that makes sense.
Emma, just a quick one on that again. Sorry, because I'm living in the States now, so obviously we've got ESPN, CBS Sports, we've got like sort of the TNN and NBC Sports, and there's now an influx of women sort of presenting shows. So we've got Kate Abdo, who does the CBS stuff, who was on Sky Sports previously. Alex Scott is like a co-host for the Champions League games. We've got, I forgot her name now. She does the NBC SN stuff with Robbie Earle and Robbie Pearson, and then we've got a few other American female presenters who do sort of the NBA stuff and the NFL stuff. So over here, it's always been, this is going back 15 years, they've always let women sort of come into sort of journalism, reporting and presenting. Do you feel there's been a shift of change? I know you just mentioned that Rebecca Lowe, that's the one, Rajiv. I know you've just said that you're still sort of like the only woman there, but do you think there has been a shift of pattern? Do you think you're getting more chances in football? And if you're not, do you feel that you've got to sort of maybe expand to other sports, like maybe boxing or maybe like sort of the cricket, the rugby? Do you ever feel like that, or maybe go abroad to find better opportunities? Or do you feel that where you are, like set in like in England, like it will start to sort of prosper? Because we are seeing more and more sort of female presenters coming on sort of talk shows and whatnot as well.
I think from a broadcast point of view, in terms of TV and radio, especially TV, there's definitely more opportunities, because I think visibility, there is more accountability now on media organizations to get females on TV and visible so people can see them. But in terms of online and a little bit radio, I don't think there's as much of a kind of push to get females on there, because they can kind of, because they're not visible, publications maybe don't necessarily have to have that kind of accountability of, knowing that there might only be one female writer. I'm obviously part of I'd probably say there's about a core team of around 10 to 15 of us who work on the BBC Sport football online. And I'm the only female and have been for 2-3 years. So that hasn't changed online. But certainly TV, there's definitely more opportunities. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Cool. On a slightly lighter note then, we've also been asked by Ger Cahill, VAR, do you think it's a shambles?
Yes. I think it's more the implementation of it. Because if you look at the way that VAR is being used by other leagues around Europe, and even in other sports, not necessarily VAR, but similar technology. Like you look at rugby and cricket, for example. I just think football rushed into it, didn't know how to use it, and therefore it has been a shambles as a result.
But I don't think they can flog it off now. I think it's too late now because it's been implemented now. It's something that they've got over the course of the next 2-3 years, 5 years, 10 years. They're just going to have to implement it better and better. And in the meantime, we're going to see so many issues with it. Like there was the offside today with William Jose. Like we're giving those decisions like offside. It's just, it does irk the football fan. And I know there's some people saying that, oh, it's going to deter football fans. I don't think it will, but they do need to get some kind of credibility with it because it is ruining sort of big decisions. Like we had it ourselves in the Merseyside derby with Mane, but there are decisions that are really bizarre. Today was another one where I thought Wolves should have got that goal.
Can I just ask? Sorry, can I just ask Emma, what's it like in the stadium when there are VAR decisions going on? Because obviously, watching from home, we get the luxury of the replays, the angles at the VAR, the referee's actually looking at himself. But what's it like in the stadium? Is there a large sense of confusion, as people seem to think?
Yeah, and that's really, really difficult. And actually, that's why we haven't been doing any live text from the stadium really since kind of VAR's come in as much, because it's so difficult to get any kind of information without actually having, the commentary that you get obviously on TV and sort of having somebody in your ear to say what's on the VAR screen. Obviously, you don't get that. So it's really difficult because you don't really know first of all, you don't know what they're checking. In some Premier League grounds, you'll have the actual broadcast TV. So at Anfield, for example, there's a little TV and you'll obviously have the kind of the replay, so you'll be able to see on the screen what you guys, I guess, see at home, where the lines are being drawn and it might say VAR checking offside or checking potential penalty. But in other Premier League grounds, you haven't got that. And especially actually, obviously, women's football doesn't have VAR, but women's football sort of stadiums, they don't have those screens. So you don't get replays for one, and obviously you don't necessarily know what they're checking on VAR, and also you don't know how long it's been. So when you're writing a match report and there's been controversy and it might have been 2 minutes that the referees had to go over and have a look at the screen, obviously those kind of information, you need to put that in the match report. So you kind of have to have that communication with your office and with people hopefully watching it on a TV screen so that you can get those facts. So that's been really difficult. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I do think the improvement needs to be the in stadium fans. I don't think have a clue what's going on. I've been to games at Anfield where there's a VAR decision happening and you have no idea what they're checking. You have to check on your phone what they're checking. What I find mad is Man United and Liverpool, the two of the biggest clubs in the country, don't have screens in the ground, but every other ground does. So again, it should have been a bit of a mandate saying you've got to have a screen in your ground as a mandate, so it's the same everywhere, so we all know what's going on. Rajiv asks, because of the way the world is, how do you deal with some of the horrible comments from trolls online and you get the discrimination in your job?
Yeah,
obviously, it's a hot topic at the moment with unfortunately what's happened to Nzola Babajide yesterday, which was pretty horrific, and the reply from social media was, as usual, inept.
Yeah, well, I actually interviewed her this morning. I think the piece is online now, so go and check that out because I think it was really brave of her for speaking about that. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it's really difficult, and I'll be honest with you, I've been quite open about this before. It's the hardest part of my job, absolutely. And I think I like to be quite jokey and sarcastic, and I like to engage with people on social media. That's kind of my way of dealing with it. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that, there's times when, people might tweet into BBC Football. And I remember actually the first time I covered an England game and somebody tweeted in saying, is everybody else off work because they've got a girl on it? And the fact that I can remember that comment tells you that it obviously had an impact on me. I didn't really tell anyone at the time. But you can't help not thinking about it because, I've worked really hard. I deserve to be there. And then, somebody kind of tweets that in while you're actually working. So you're then having to kind of continue through that game, trying to have, a little bit of humor and trying to engage with people, knowing that you've got people reading that, that don't think anything, don't think anything of you. So it is hard, but the best thing to do is, I guess, to just back yourself and speak to the people that have got confidence in you. So I'm really lucky that I've got a really good team, and they will tell me if I need to improve in areas, but then they'll also praise me when it's due. So that obviously helps.
Okay. Coppish back just to say that Emma is a great guest. So just to back up that, to be fair to me, just my opinion, I don't get it. I don't get why men are quite threatened by a woman presenting football or talking about football. It doesn't infringe you, so I don't get it. That's just me.
I tell you what it is as well. Most of these trolls and whatever you want to call them, they want to be in your position, Emma. It's jealousy, it's envious that you're in a great position, and you got whoever they are, whether they're females or males, giving you online trolls and saying just nasty words and whatnot. They want to be in your position, so you should count yourself lucky and just literally just block the noise. It's easier said than done, but literally you're doing a great job, and you're here with us, and it is what it is, unfortunately. And you got these social media sort of platforms like Twitter and stuff, and unless they make a drastic change, it will continue. But continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good. Right. The last question I've got from the Discord group was from Kev O'Sullivan, which is a subject that's dear to my heart. So, Liverpool Women. He just asked, can we discuss Liverpool Women? From his opinion, he feels it's been badly let down by the owners in terms of transfer budget and investments, but just in general, your view of how the women's game, particularly Liverpool centric, is going. I mean, my background is I've been on the Liverpool women's game now for about 5 years now with my daughter. So I've started to get involved with the fans clubs, and I think I was part of one of the original fans forums. So I've got quite a vested interest in the women's team. I know not everyone does, and that's everyone's personal preference. But I just wanted, what was your opinion? Because I know you do both the male side and the female side of football.
Yeah, well, as you know, Chris, I am really passionate about growing the women's game and giving them a platform, because, as you'll know, there's some really talented players. They work really hard, and the club haven't given them the backing that they've deserved. They were back-to-back league winners back in 2014, so it's not that long ago. But I think the problem with Liverpool is that they were one of the founding clubs of the Women's Super League. And they obviously had that success, and they've kind of stood still. Other clubs have then seen the benefits of women's football and have realised that it's worth investing in, and they've just been overtaking Liverpool, and Liverpool haven't really reacted or been proactive to any of that. So they've been left behind. Obviously, at the moment, they're still looking for a new manager. I think it was ridiculous, really, to get rid of the old manager without having somebody lined up. That's my personal opinion. I know they're working hard behind the scenes, which obviously the delay will be frustrating, but I think there is a keen feeling now among those in the club that they have to start thinking long term, and they have to get the women's side kind of on the same level pegging as the men's, because for a club the size of Liverpool, the women's team should be in the top flight. They should be performing. You just look at Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United. Their women's teams are doing very well, and Arsenal, their women's team are doing very well, and they've got the support of the men's side. So obviously, the financial things come into it, investment comes into it. But for me, it's just the general treatment of the women's team. I'd like to see there be more focus on kind of professionalism and just ensuring that they have everything that they need to go forward. But yeah, all I would say to fans of the women's team at the moment is this is an important period, and it's right that they're taking their time to bring in the new manager, because this is a new manager that they hope will be in place for 3, 4, 5 years, and hopefully it'll be the start of kind of a new era for the team.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, look, for my opinion, I felt like the club took their eye off the ball a little bit with the women's team, and I think it felt from the outside looking in the badge was enough, and I think they've now realised the badge isn't enough. The players want more than that. But I also do think with the women's team, it could turn around very quickly. I mean, I look at the across the park Everton, who were pretty lucky not to get relegated 2 years ago, and are now, while they're not at Arsenal, Chelsea's level, they don't like playing Everton now. Everton are a hard team to play. Everton are a very talented team to play, and that's probably turned around in 12, 18 months, and that's when they got the right manager in Willie Kirk and just started to build in the right way. So fingers crossed. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, you're ever the optimist. Fingers crossed it is that short turnaround, and you're hoping whoever they're bringing in, the backing is there and the structure is there. I mean, Suzanne Black is now on the board, and so is Billy Hogan. He's now on the women's board, which he wasn't involved with before. So I think they're two positive steps in the right direction. Stephen O'Connor asks, who's the best women's footballer? Which is very big question.
Big question.
It's got to be Megan, isn't it? Megan Rappioni.
No.
It's got to be a player from Lyon, surely. For those who don't follow women's football, Lyon are probably like the equivalent of Pep's Barcelona at their peak. If you play for Lyon, you are probably at arguably one of the best clubs around. Though the likes of City and Chelsea are getting very, very close.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team, Lyon are definitely, they've obviously been the leading team for the last 5 years. But for me, my top three wouldn't be any Lyon players.
Okay.
I think based on current form, I actually think Fran Kirby is probably on form, probably the best footballer around at the moment. But going into the start of the season, I thought Pernell Harder, off the back of last season, was the best player in the world, closely followed by Miedema at Arsenal. But I do think Wendy Renard, who obviously is at Lyon, the centre back there, she's been a fantastic player for years now.
Hasn't she got some crazy goal scoring record for a defender?
Yeah.
Like she scores like 14, 15 a season, I think, from centre back.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. She scored a lot in the World Cup as well. I think she scored 2 in one group game. So I remember covering that. So and then obviously Lucy Bronze is always going to be in that conversation. But I think probably based on current form, Fran Kirby. Yeah.
Cool. Do you think Man City's women will get the Champions League before the men do?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Who does Emma think our player of the season will be? I don't know if that's male or female, so go for both if you want.
Okay. Women. Player of the season. That's a tough one. Maybe Bo Kearns, who is also a young player. So Missy Bo Kearns. So she'll probably get both of them. So Kerry Holland is giving her a run for the money at the moment. She's only been here since January. Men's, I think, young player has to be Curtis Jones. And senior player for me, I think it's difficult to look past Fabinho just because of the fact that he's had to have that role where he's essentially kind of stepped up into centre-back. And then he's already shown what a difference he makes when he's back in midfield. So from a kind of a versatility and a leadership point of view, I'd be inclined to go with Fabinho for the men's player of the year.
Cool. The Daily Football, the Football Daily asks, do you have any information who's in the running for the Liverpool women's job, or do we not know yet?
I know a few, which I'll lose my job if I say.
Fair enough. We'll leave.
All I will say is that there is at least 2 WSL managers that will be in the running, and there has been interest from a couple of well-known names. But yeah, they're very much still in the interview process. So that's probably about as much as I can say.
And then Red Steve said, bit tongue-in-cheek, could you take Pajak? I believe this is Chris Pajak from Redmen TV in a fight. We'll all assume you could take Paul Machin.
Definitely taking both of them. Hands down. Easy.
That's getting clipped up later. Cool. Right. Final one. Just let's leave it a high. Who is Tottenham's player of the season? Is it Ramsdale?
Ramsdale.
Who's yours, Emma? Who's your Tottenham player of the season?
I think it's got to be probably Sergio Reguilón, just because I think every game I've seen him play, he's been in top form, which is probably a little bit controversial because he's not played as much. But
Cool.
I just think he's always in top 2 or 3 players.
Cool. I'd go Højbjerg. I think he's been what
Actually, that's
I think he's what Tottenham need a bit of nastiness, and I do think that's what will help them in the future. Someone like probably need a couple more players like that. What do you think, Avy? Be nice.
I think the way Harry Kane's adapted his game this season, dropping back, and the number of assists he's got, for me, it's got to be Harry Kane.
Okay. Matt, is it Matt Doherty? He's on mute, so he's upset.
He's been mute for the last 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, Matt,
sorry,
you're on mute.
I am muted. Sorry. If I ever see Matt Doherty in a Spurs jersey again, it'll be too soon. I think all three are good shows, but I'd probably have to lean towards Harry Kane. Just top goal chart, top of the assist chart, carrying a team who without him would be nothing. I can't look beyond him.
Fair enough. Right. Enough of that Spurs chat. That's far too much Spurs chat today. Cool. Right. That's it for this week. So just want to say thanks everyone who's come to watch us in the chat. Thanks for the questions. Matt, we will probably see you next week. Avy, you're having a week off because you need a week off, to be honest, mate. So we'll let you have a break. And Emma, thank you very much for coming on. It is much appreciated. Hope we can get you on again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all your kind comments.
No problem. Right, we are LFC Daytrippers. Keep your eye out for tomorrow. We have got a reaction show, which I think Keith is doing after the Villa game. And then we've got the usual 4 back on Sunday for the Fat Back 4. And then we start all over again. Until then, I'll see you all next Friday.